Energy Information Administration, the world's electrical needs will have risen 25% by the year 2050. We need better energy solutions if we are to keep up with the increasing demands for electricity. There is so much debate on what to do about pollution caused by energy production that some people seem to forget that we've already created the solution. Nuclear energy can be the solution to both the world's growing energy needs as well as the answer to pollution. I've personally done a large amount of research into the topic of nuclear energy, and I'm convinced the energy of the future will be precisely exploding controlled atoms. There are many people, including politicians, who are in charge of legislating the permitted energy methods in the United States, who don't know much about nuclear energy and the wide array of benefits nuclear power provides. Because of the high stakes involved, it is important to become informed and sort out what is true and what is false. Today, I'll be educating you on the vast array of benefits that come with nuclear energy. Namely, 1, it's good for the environment, 2, it's reliable, and 3, it's safe. First and foremost, it is the best type of energy for the environment. This may not align with what you've heard in the past, but the facts speak for themselves. Nuclear power is earth-friendly. So just how good for the planet is nuclear energy? According to the US Department of Energy, solar requires 75 times as much space, and wind needs 360 times the landmass to put the same amount of power that a nuclear generator does. Even accounting for the mining space needed to get uranium, nuclear leaves a smaller footprint than either wind or solar. Nuclear is also just as sustainable as wind and solar, and much more sustainable than coal. Only 27 tons of fresh nuclear fuel are needed to power a 1,000 megawatt generator. This is extremely low in contrast to a coal power plant, which needs 2.5 million tons of coal to produce the same amount of power. At today's consumption rate, we have over 230 years of uranium fuel left. It is estimated that if we create an economical way to extract uranium from the sea, we will likely have a 60,000 year supply. Even if that doesn't happen, scientists are branching out into even more nuclear fuel sources, so nuclear power will remain sustainable for centuries to come. Furthermore, we are currently researching reactors that can recycle spent fuel, eliminating the need to mine so much nuclear fuel in the first place. For these reasons, nuclear power will be a reliable source of energy far into the future. The final case for nuclear's eco-friendliness is its emissions. That's a joke because nuclear power creates no CO2 emissions to speak of. The only thing that comes from a nuclear power's towers is steam. Some may have a problem with the nuclear waste, but that is easily disposed of. The Office of Nuclear Energy states that so far, all of the nuclear waste in the entire US for the past 60 years could be placed in a space smaller than a football field. With all the empty space in the deserts of New Mexico, I doubt that'll be an issue. As we can see, nuclear power is a clean and viable energy solution for an incredibly long time. Not only is nuclear power sustainable and clean, it is also extremely reliable. It shouldn't come as a surprise that nuclear power is the most reliable energy in the world. Unlike wind, solar, and hydroelectric, nuclear plants aren't reliant on nature for its production. According to a paper published by Yale School of Forestry and Environmental Studies, quote, nuclear power operated at full power on 336 out of 365 days of the year. In contrast, United States hydroelectric systems delivered power only 138 days of the year, wind 127, and solar only 92, close quote. The best example of needing reliable energy is Germany. After switching to a full wind and solar grid, Germany had constant surpluses and shortages. During the surpluses, power companies needed to pay customers to use more energy, and during the shortages, power needed to be cut off from various areas. Because nuclear fuel can last up to 6 years, maintenance and refueling happen very rarely, and thus the power stays on longer than even gas or coal plants. Basically, nuclear power gets more consistent power to consumers with fewer shutoffs. The last point to make is that nuclear is a lot safer than you may have been led to think. France has been safely operating nuclear reactors for 58 years. They have had only one major incident and even that was safely taken care of with no repercussions. The United States has successfully operated nuclear reactors for over 62 years. Within that time span, we've only had one major incident, and it was successfully taken care of effectively. The United States Navy has also utilized a lot of nuclear reactors on submarines and carriers with no incidents. In fact, despite what you may think, nuclear reactors and their failures are responsible for less deaths than gas, coal, hydroelectric, and even surprisingly, wind and solar. According to the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation, quote, even the worst possible accident at a nuclear power plant, the complete meltdown and burnup of its radioactive fuel, was still far less destructive than other major industrial accidents across the past century. This is in reference to Chernobyl, which experienced a complete reactor meltdown. Over Chernobyl's 9 years of operation, 4,000 deaths were attributed to it. This includes direct deaths and cancer deaths since then. While this was tragic, this can be compared to a hydroelectric incident in China, which claimed the lives of over 26,000 people. Again, according to the United Nations, the Chernobyl rate is 9 times lower than the death rate from liquefied gas and 47 times lower than that of hydroelectric stations. Close quote. Even if we were to add Fukushima's death toll of roughly 2,200 to Chernobyl's, we would still have many fewer deaths than other power sources. For instance, coal is responsible for thousands of deaths every year across the globe. Wind and solar combined are attributed with 590 deaths per 1,000 terawatt-hour. Again, contrasted with nuclear's 90 deaths per terawatt-hour, we see just how safe nuclear is. In the end, even the worst-case scenario of a nuclear meltdown results in less deaths than the other power plant's worst-case scenarios. In conclusion, nuclear power can be the energy of the future for a variety of reasons. It is clean, it is reliable, and it is safe. Without the amazing capabilities of nuclear energy, the world will likely be unable to keep up with the growing demand for electricity and the growing concerns of pollution. Thank you.